Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Young Gruff, and joining me today is Lachlan Teely.
On episode 169.
Nice.
It has been a while. Let's catch up a little bit. Man, so much time has passed since we last recorded. It's only been a week. I had a week off last week. I'm very sorry. But so much news. So much news. And a new camera angle. Look, head on if you're watching this. If you're listening to this, camera angle was to the right.
I love
now
getting head
it's
from
centered.
you. Yeah.
Ewan with the innuendos, nothing's changed except
I don't know what you mean.
the camera angle, which can make a world of difference in this industry, as we all know.
Oh, yes. We do know that. Especially, I also almost changed my camera angle. I'm selecting like a different corner every year from my room, and I'm running out of corners, but I think I'll corner myself in a different one. Maybe by next week, maybe I'll stay here. We'll see, but I didn't want to outshine your camera change, even if we took a week off. But I watched the movies, and you watched the movies. For me, it's too much to list here, so I'll just list them later on in what we've been watching. But that's my part set. What's your next cue? It's been a while since we podcasted. I don't know how this works anymore.
Yeah, it's been a while. We're not used to this like segue thing where I kind of then go, finally, there has been heaps and heaps of frontman and like singer biographies coming out over the past few years. I mean, we've got Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody.
So many, man.
We had Elvis come out. We've got a new Michael Jackson movie coming out, I think, this year. So many movies about that, but why not instead have a look at their life around them, but more specifically, the important women in their lives. And why not someone like Priscilla? That's right, Ewan and I, this week, will have a little chat about Sofia Coppola's ex-A24 movie, latest feature, Priscilla.
Exactly. So let's cue up the intro and get into the show. We are professional.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right. Similar to like 2 weeks ago, Lachlan, we're focusing again on the women behind a very famous man. If you remember, Leonard Bernstein, Maestro, was kind of a similar thing where they end up focusing more on Felicia, I think was her name, the wife of Leonard Bernstein. Really interesting time of these biopics that kind of turn the story on its head. But we'll get into that later on. This is the first, I think, actual episode we are recording this year, although this is about to be like the fourth one that we release. It's odd.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy. It's already like the month is almost over, and I thought, hey, it's like the 4th of January at the moment. It's gotta be. No, we are almost in February already, and I mean, Dune is just around the corner. I'm very excited.
Oh, don't
it's so
get
close.
Me excited. So close.
As far as news go, we have a bunch to talk about. But there's also a bunch of award shows that happened. We don't really care if you want to have the actual award shows. Last week's episode, we did the actual award ceremony early. Hollywood doesn't want you to know about it. Yeah. So go check it out if you missed it. And there's still not a lot when it comes to trailers other than Spaceman, the movie with Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, Paul Dano from John Rank, the Chernobyl writer and director. Spaceman got a first full-on trailer, and I know you are very excited for this. Did you watch the trailer? Did you?
Yep.
Yeah?
I did, and it gave me a vibe that I'm quite excited for. It's giving me sort of the atmosphere of Moon, if you remember 2009 Moon, and it's giving me some incredible imagery, and I'm so excited for this movie. I was excited from just the premise of it alone, and that little teaser that came out. And now that I've seen a bit more, I'm just, super keen that this thing is not even that far away as well. I don't have to wait too long. March 1st, I think.
It's premiering at the Berlinale as well in February. So we'll hear first thoughts on some people who get to see it. I won't be attending. I almost was, but then I wasn't. But Spaceman will hear sooner than later, and then it will be out on Netflix. When is it? Like sometime in March or April? It's pretty soon.
Yeah, 1st of March. It says it's listed. I'm pretty sure.
Damn. Yes.
Soon.
I started reading or listening to the audiobook of the story because now that I can't see it at the Berlinale, I'll probably just I guess read the novel first. And so far, it's like pretty intriguing. I think this is gonna be an interesting film to follow. But that's it as far as trailers go. Luckily, let's have. My God. Okay, so in the last couple of weeks that we haven't done a news segment, the news have just kind of accumulated like snow in the, I guess, colder regions. It just like piled itself up. And now we are bringing in the figurative snow shovels and shoveling it all into your mouths, I guess, to your ears for you to consume. So much news. Lachlan, let's do
you're
some
so rough
quick
at this
news
right now.
I can't do segues anymore.
All right, it's been a while since we've done like a quick news, and we're going to do it in a way where we just alternate, bang, we just say headline after headline, give a little bit of an explainer maybe. We might go off on a tangent. I don't know. Let's see how we go, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, New Year. Oh, bloody hell. So much news to get through. Whew. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Godzilla -1/- color brings Godzilla back to the big screens, however in black and white, and it's just casually made another $100 million at the box office, so it's doing super well in the United States.
White Lotus Season 3 adds Jason Isaacs, Leslie Bibb, Michelle Monaghan, Parker Posey, Carrie Coon, Amy Lou Wood, and Christian Friedel of The Zone of Interest, among others, to its very big cast, and it starts filming in February.
Steven Yeun has left the MCU Thunderbolts movie.
Goodbye. The Mandalorian and Grogu will be Jon Favreau's Star Wars movie. A 4th season of The Mandalorian was already written, but the movie now takes priority.
Also in the Star Wars universe, Ahsoka Season 2 is currently in the works and probably should be prioritized since that was some of the best Star Wars content in a very long time.
Agreed. I haven't seen the 2 films preceding the 28 days or I guess months. 28 days and 28 weeks later franchise, but Danny Boyle and Alex Garland reunite to bring us not 28 months, but 28 years later.
The Blob is getting a remake, part of the many horror reboots in the previous couple of years, but it is coming from Hellraiser director David Bruckner.
The Avatar sequels resume filming as well. Along the same train, Stranger Things Season 5, Tron 3, Daredevil Born Again, and the live-action How to Train a Dragon have started filming.
Paul Thomas Anderson's next film has got some stars signed onto it. Sean Penn, Regina Hall, and Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Tom Cruise has signed with Warner Brothers, and in the same breath, Paramount has greenlit Top Gun 3.
Andrew Garfield has dropped out of the Frankenstein movie by Del Toro, and Jacob Elordi will be replacing him.
Well, speaking of Frankenstein, the movie Bride of Frankenstein from Maggie Gyllenhaal, Jessie Buckley, Christian Bale, Annette Bening, Penelope Cruz, and Peter Sarsgaard among the cast.
Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender will star in Steven Soderbergh's next spy thriller, Black Bag.
A grand jury has indicted Alec Baldwin of an involuntary manslaughter charge for the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
Harmony Korine and Travis Scott's aggro drift movie will be released in an LA strip club, Crazy Girls. The film will be shown at unconventional venues to allow audiences to immerse them. Sorry, let me say this in quotations. In quotations, allow audiences to immerse themselves in it.
I've seen the film, and I don't know how you immerse yourself into that. It's just like, you can't. It's not possible. But something I'll be strapped in, hopefully watch it in VR, is the live action Minecraft movie. Oh God, this is actually happening. Yes, it started filming, and the cast includes Jason Momoa, Jack Black, Danielle Brooks, Emma Myers, Jennifer Coolidge, Kate McKinnon, and Jermaine Clement, coming to you one block at a time in theaters, April 4th, 2025. Minecraft.
Wizards of Waverly Place will be getting a sequel series focusing on David Henry as Justin Russo, and Selena Gomez is apparently going to cameo in the first episode.
Yeah, I grew up on that series and the movies. That's why got a spot in the news this week, even though it's a bit strange. I guess these Disney kids are doing a bunch of podcasts on keeping the fandom alive, and hey, here it resulted in a sequel series. A trailer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle dropped, distributed by Bethesda, so that has my expectations kind of set low for it.
Until Dawn is getting a movie adaptation. That's right, another video game being turned into a movie, and it's been directed by David F. Sandberg.
If you scream Shazam, you'll get out of any situation in that film. Gladiator 2 is done filming, and we got some glorious photos of Ridley Scott and Paul Mescal smoking a cigar together.
Speaking of Paul Mescal, Better Call Saul, I thought I could maybe make it rhyme, has gone 0 for 53 at the Emmys. Paul Mescal and Better Call Saul have nothing in relation. I just thought I could make it rhyme. Never mind. Yeah,
the show is over now, so that's all of its Emmy chances gone. It's been robbed. I think it's one of the best shows, maybe even better than Breaking Bad, or at least on the same level. And yeah, never got any Emmys. The Last of Us Season 2 adds a bunch of cast members, most notably Abby will be played by Caitlin Dever.
I hope that she understands what will be coming.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second.
It's going to be
it's
hardcore, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. Paul Giamatti, in a very famous photo, goes viral. He enjoys In-N-Out after his Golden Globe win.
Props to you, man. Definitely a good way to celebrate winning an award. And then Steamboat Willie has entered the public domain, so there's already a ton of undoubtedly great works that are starting production to, I guess, use and in a way abuse this copyright system. So yeah, you're all caught up. Well, finally, Sundance has started, and we'll report back next week, or I guess I'll report back next week, because I think I'll get to see some of the stuff that is available virtually. So a couple of films we get to talk about, but for a more extensive Sundance coverage, I guess I'll send you the way to Intercut. They are actually there in person. I think the Oscar expert. They're also better with all of that award stuff, and they're both there in person as well. So you'll hear all about all of the films that drop at Sundance. For us, it will only be the virtual ones that also everyone can go see if you get a ticket for it. Different kind of news this week. There was so much, man. And it wasn't just like that I was
so much
trying to search for stuff. They would have maybe made it into a similar like news mention, and we would have talked about it. There's a ton of... Yeah, after the strikes,
so
they got a lot to do.
Is happening.
But in the meantime, if you're on Spotify, leave us a rating, on Apple Podcasts as well. And on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel and leave a like as well. It's greatly appreciated and helps us get into these festivals like Sundance, maybe even virtually. We didn't get in this time. They said, hey, only if you fly to Utah, then you can have a press pass. Otherwise, they denied us. Actually what they said. But yeah, that's that. But we have so much news to talk about, Lachlan. Anything that stood out to you that you want to talk about? I feel like the Last of Us thing, we definitely have to talk about. You being such a big Last of Us fan.
We should start on The Last of Us. Yeah. Big? You might be putting it lightly.
Huge. Gigantuous. Enormous.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a ton of casting announced for The Last of Us Season 2. Yep. And there's going to be a lot of hype, because obviously now, if fans weren't aware, if you are aware of playing the game, Last of Us Part 2 does go in a direction that narratively and a lot of people hated. I at first disliked it, but I actually have come to enjoy the story of The Last of Us Part 2 after replaying it. And there's now a Last of Us Part 2 remaster that's come out. Does nothing narratively, does very little graphically, but comes out with a couple new features that I'd like to play. And for like $15, yeah, sure, take my money. I'm happy to pay $15 for some time and effort that's been put into the Naughty Dog developers. But there's going to be a lot of debate around Season 2 and what story it should follow. And first of all, I feel like Caitlin Dever should have been warned about what might happen as playing Abby. She has been. Because of where it goes narratively. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't played it, but... Yeah, like me, I haven't played it. It's a hardcore story. However, there is still a chance that they might change the narrative, and they might actually go away from particular story beats that Last of Us Part 2 went with. And they might go with their own, and I'm totally happy with that.
Basically start earlier, right?
Have
That's how they could do it.
Yeah, they had elements of the season 1 that did take different beats compared to what the actual game did of the first Last of Us, or Last of Us Part 1 as it's referred to as. But yeah, there's a lot of casting that's come out of not just Abby, but you've got young Mazzino as Jesse, you've got Isabella Bacide as Dina. They're all coming out of these characters that play big parts in Last of Us Part 2. And I'm super excited. Like, I'm very keen to see where this goes. Last of Us kind of broke the video game adaptation streak of bad adaptations, and it was actually a really solid story.
I agreed. I definitely have to play, I guess, Part 2 before I can chime in and say, this has me concerned. But I think Caitlin Dever is a great actress. I just feel like the physicality might not be there for just looking at the character of Abby.
She feels can bulk like up.
I'd be all for it. Bulk up, girl. You can get it. But yeah, I'm keen. I think they have done a great job with the first season, and yeah, that's all I have to say about it. What do you think about all of the public domain stuff? The Steamboat Willies entering public domain. Last year we had Winnie the Pooh, and basically Disney not extending the copyright further, but most notably here, it's just the version of Mickey Mouse that's not even Mickey Mouse, it's Steamboat Willie, like that character from 1928 that has become public domain. What do you think about all of that?
It's not Disney extending the copyright on it per se, it's Disney like petitioning to extend copyright laws, which is why it's taken so long for particular Disney characters to go into the public domain. At least that's from my understanding. Is that originally Mickey Mouse was going to go into the public domain, but then the 70s. They literally they changed copyright laws so that it could be longer. And twice. So that's wild. Look, I've actually had conversations about this, funnily enough, from a whole bunch of different people, which some people don't understand what public domain means. Some people understand what it means, but there are some people who actually are against it, and there are some people who are for it. And I honestly think that there's, I guess, pros and cons to having no copyright and having copyright on particular, channels. I feel like Disney does abuse copyright quite a bit. There's a number of different companies that abuse copyright laws. Disney is one of them. Nintendo is another one. There's a big example of, especially in the streaming space. They really like to take down people with showing or streaming some Nintendo games. But having a character like this is fine to have in the public domain because they're not huge, and people are going to take this as a character and use it as like the free I'm gonna say free Willy. Free
Willy.
Like,
no, there's still a bunch of limitations.
Yeah, so I see why I'm laughing in my head. I was like, I didn't want to say Free Willy in reference to the movie. But I mean, like people want Mickey Mouse to be in the public domain. They want these characters to be used so that they can do it, but they're not. But people would love the ability to tell stories using these characters and not be sued by Disney. And I am totally in the part of you should be able to write a story and not be sued. But I also think that you should not have your character maybe run through the mud, because I know there's a game coming out that's like I know like the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, whatever it was,
it was horrible.
Adaptation was like the complete like opposite of what Winnie the Pooh is, and that's cool. I give you that's fine. You can do that. But there are people who are going to put Winnie the Pooh as like a pilot on a plane crash, or they're gonna like put them on like a really disgusting video, maybe in like a video for like racism, sexism, something like that. They're gonna use that idea, that IP, because it's now in the free public domain. And that's the unfortunate side, is that you're gonna have people who can't be taken down for that kind of material. But I guess that's the balance of free speech. People deserve to have free speech. People are going to say shit you don't like, but that's their right.
I mean, the counter thing to all of the concerns would be, look at Poor Things. Look at the Frankenstein movies that are coming up. Look at the Guillermo del Toro or other Pinocchio had like a year where it had like 4 movies in 1 year. Some of them were shit. Some of them were Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. So these older stories, I think, is also like how Disney made a lot of its money is for going to like these fairy tales like Snow White and Peter Pan and all of that stuff and basically adapting it. And their versions of what they created, the looks of them, I think for that are still in copyright law. Like, for example, I think Peter Pan is in public domain, but the version, basically the character model of how he looks in the Disney animated movie would still be, because it's under a different copyright, because that came out with the film itself. And I think a lot of people are gonna get in hot water because Disney likes to sue, and there will be a bunch of suing, and there were a bunch of precedents set after this. But I guess about Steamboat Willie, they don't care about anymore. Which, why the fuck would they? They're not using it for anything.
And don't get me wrong, I think I keep, by the way, I keep facing this way for where my camera is, but I realize it's here now. I keep going like this. But I'm totally okay with adaptations, like taking a text and adapting it, and I totally understand if you're gonna make a Robin Hood movie, but then make your Robin Hood a fox. That's copyright. Disney did that. They've already done that story. You can't copy that, and that's totally okay. I get that, but again, there. I wish there was the ability to let someone, because Disney's probably not going to do anything with that. Let someone make like a fan spin-off sequel to that animated Robin Hood, because that Robin Hood was like my childhood. I would love to see like little short stories of that IP. Like Disney, let someone do something with it.
That's the same thing with Nintendo, where they're just like shutting down stuff when they can't regulate it themselves, which is like something that specifically in the Nintendo Smash community with like an older game of Melee, they've struggled at, and there's like even new limitations that came out for this year. They always kind of struggle against that, and Disney feels like they're just shutting anything down that comes that is using their stuff, which I think on the business side it is understandable, because you brought up like they could ultimately be attached to someone who's like really hateful and would reflect bad on the brand. But I feel like they do a good enough job at that themselves. So I don't know how harmful it would ultimately be.
Yeah.
Speaking of Disney, The Mandalorian and Grogu. You think this is a good idea, Jon Favreau?
I think that they've realized that the story that they've gone with The Mandalorian is no longer Mandalorian and Grogu. It is a story about the Mandalorian race, and that's okay. It was never called The Mandalorian Grogu. It was called The Mandalorian, but like that's fine. The Mandalorian,
and we never know if like the
Mandalorian they want it to be
would be one or the many. It's never, there's no plural for it.
Right? What's a flock of Mandalorians called, right? Like, no one knows. It could just be a Mandalorian. So, we don't know. So, that's fine. Doing a movie makes sense. Doing a movie with Jon Favreau makes sense. Making it the priority over season 4? Sure. Because they're probably going to want fans to come back. But they have to be really strategic with what they're doing with Star Wars right now, because it is literally thin ice. It is like the tiniest bit of ice, and like one wrong step and the whole thing's gonna come collapsing down. I don't think it was in the news, but there was a whole thing about the new Rey movie that's going to be coming out, and some of the comments the director made, and that Adam Driver definitely doesn't want to come back, and I'm like, this is like, why not just start fresh? I know they want to give Rey another opportunity, and I think Rey is a cool character, Rey Palpatine, not Rey Skywalker, for that particular idea that her name is Rey Palpatine, not Rey Skywalker, but like, whatever. There is a lot of elements to that, and I know they're going to try to do this incredibly hardcore redemption arc for that character. But maybe just let the character die. Maybe just let the character move on, do a different thing.
Yeah. I don't know where they go next with all of the I'm most intrigued by the thing that is set old Republic era. I don't know, just earlier.
The Accolade.
That has the Accolade. Is that the series? Oh, there's a bunch of series. Skeleton Crew and the Accolade. But there's also a movie in the works that is set like way earlier as well. But
High Republic. Yeah.
I forget who's attached to what.
But it's like they announce stuff and then they just like. Remember when they said Taika Waititi was going to do a Star Wars movie? Done. No more. And then they said that the Game of Thrones creators want to do a Star Wars series. Done. No more. So it's like, is Jon Favreau's Mandalorian movie the next thing that's going to be announced and then scrapped?
I think he's...
Like, I feel like they just don't know what they want to do.
He's one of the creators that is so close to the Mandalorian from the first season on that who's the other guy who's like really involved with it? I'm blanking on his name. But there's also
Dave Filoni?
Exactly. And he's also directing a movie that is basically the conclusion of the Mandoverse. And I don't know if this movie... I don't think this movie is that. That's another movie, right? To me, that wasn't completely clear.
Probably.
I don't know. And it feels like they're investing a lot in what somewhat works. I think the numbers are still there that Mandalorian is definitely doing the best out of the Star Wars series. I think Ahsoka did well, but it didn't do like crazy well enough for a second season. But I don't know how easy it is. I know there's a collective understanding through memes and stuff that you saw of Baby Yoda, Grogu. But I don't know how much of a draw there is for people who haven't seen the 3 seasons of Mandalorian to go see this film. Especially when Disney isn't great with budgeting something that is like basically like a TV movie, maybe like an extension of that. You put it into theaters, you have a lower budget for it. I don't think Disney's going to do that at all. I think they're going to spend like 150, 200 million on this. And yeah. And like the next Star Wars movie is at least like 2 or 3 years out. I feel like they won't have it in theaters like next year. Or even the year after. I think it's going to take a while until we get something.
I think that they weren't planning that. I think they were probably planning a 1-year Star Wars gap and expecting that gap to be filled by
Series?
Indiana Jones.
And
maybe a series.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the Lucasfilms IPs, it's like Indiana Jones, it's Star Wars, it's Willow, and then it's like American Graffiti. And
that's it.
Those... Yeah. And like... One of those series they haven't even decided to reboot, but one of them they have. And,
Willow they did, and I think then Willow, it was one of the like HBO Warner Bros. Strategies of deleting the whole series off of Disney Plus. I think.
Yep.
Because it didn't do well, and then I remember Disney sent me the screeners. I watched like a couple of episodes, didn't get into it. I haven't seen the original. But I guess it was like not worth having on there and paying a bunch of actors residuals over. They haven't even negotiated. I don't get why they do this. It's so disrespectful to the whole industry, and to the people working in it.
Ewan, you know why? Yep. Money. Money.
Thinking about it now, it does completely make sense, and I would do the same thing. It's money.
It's an interesting conversation, right? Because so many movies, and it's a conversation I've heard about video games as well recently, especially because the whole games industry has got major layoffs happening right now, right? Because major AAA games are costing the same amount as high-end Hollywood movies. We're talking like a couple $100 million worth, like $200 million worth of movies. Like there was the Sony and Xbox leaks that happened last year that told budgets of video games, and they were in the 200 millions. And it's the same with movies. But at a certain point, these industries are going to have to collapse or they're going to have to figure out how to save money because it's not a sustainable, like, circle.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make movies that are going to make their money back all the time.
I think games or game companies have, like, not the same issue as movies have, because it's, like, essentially you have the physical and you have the digital version of a game, but it ultimately is at home. You don't have a bunch of outside investments, and there's a ton of splitting revenue and whatever, all of that, where you have merchandising as well. But there's no theater
distribution, and then there's different companies coming in, and
I mean, you also see these layoffs happen in all of the tech sector. Like Spotify laid off 1,500 people the other day, 7% of their workforce.
The whole fucking
all of it, because you can see that there's still like there's a pressure on really economics podcast now. There's a big pressure on these companies to uphold kind of the global economy, when there's been, I think, the big 6 or big 7 companies that have basically been somewhat in the green, and everything else has been tanking, that like other smaller companies have to lay people off to save a lot of that money that would go to their staff, to ultimately not bleed as much money as they are bracing for impact of a maybe still like some economic crisis that could be incoming in the next couple of months or years. A dire time to be in search of work at the moment. I feel like it has been for the last couple of years since COVID, but it hasn't really gotten better when it comes to like finding housing, finding jobs. It's been just like a tough couple of years. That's essentially it. But hey, entertainment. We're here to talk about entertainment.
It's all about money, baby.
Yeah,
let's be real. We're not here for the art. We're here for the money.
Lachlan, let's get to what we've been watching. So, yeah, Lachlan, what have you been watching over our break?
Was I meant to be watching stuff? Well, that's awkward.
You watched Saltburn again.
I haven't been watching. I watched Saltburn again. Incredible. I watched.
Yeah, I hate the discourse.
This is Society of the Snow.
Yeah.
I watched that. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I've caught up with episodes of Rick and Morty, Jack Reacher.
Season 2, are you done?
What else have I been watching? No, I'm not done with season 2 yet. I'm almost done.
Okay.
I have started rewatching The Bear.
Yeah. Season 1?
I haven't finished The Bear. I started rewatching The Bear. Yeah, I've been reading The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
Making my way through that.
Biography
It's fun.
of your life.
It's a kid's book, so it's fun. Fuck you. What else?
No, I'm lying.
I finished Spider-Man 2. How's that? There you go.
Yeah. That's did you as a completionist sometimes did you go for all of that or yes? Oh, okay. I was expecting you to go no, it's just the main story. All of the missions.
Platinumed it.
Damn. Okay. Impressive stuff.
It's an easy platinum though.
Yeah. Well, I know my little brother has been playing it. I got it for the two of us on the PS5, and then he bought his own PS5.
And then he played it.
I don't know why he got the PS5, because he had a PS5, then I bought it off of him, and then basically I was never playing. He came to my place to actually play it, because I have a bigger TV and better sound system. Because I didn't let him play enough, I think. He just got his own again. I don't know why. But I still haven't started playing the first or the second one. I'm just really bad at finishing and playing games. But I am good at watching movies, and that's what I did over the break. I started this series back in December where I tried to go over all of the stuff that released over the week and basically give you a quick rundown if it's good or not. I call it the weekly movie and TV roundup inspired by The Needle Drop, Anthony Fantano. I've been enjoying that. I feel like I tried to watch less this year. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. I do have like a couple of milestones to hit, and I checked. I quite exceeded the ones that I set for movie watching for 2023, and I watched some stuff. And you can go hear a bit more of my thoughts on that other show, but since we last recorded, I watched The Abyss. I finished True Detective show, new season, Night Country. I got screeners for it, so I have seen the whole series. It's gonna be done, I think, sometime in February or end of this month. And I was a bit underwhelmed. I think I had high expectations for it. It definitely takes a different direction than some of the other seasons. It's still really dark. It's like literally dark because they're filming it in winter high up in Alaska, and it's always night time basically. I liked it. I just had higher expectations for it. I also caught American Fiction, like Lachlan, Society of the Snow. We got a review on that non-spoiler one with Kevin as well on the channel. I also caught Anyone But You, which has been doing crazy well at the box office. I didn't like it as much. All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt I saw. Night Swim, the obligatory horror film in January. The Beekeeper, another one that we have a review for. He went that way. Jacob Elordi, we're going to talk about him more as Elvis, but here he's a serial killer, and there's a monkey in this film as well. Road Trip, it's really bad. Self-Reliance, fun film overall. I feel like Lachlan might dig this one quite a bit, so I can't wait for you to maybe give it a try as well. Roleplay, I watched the Ted series. It's alright. I finished Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. I think the middle part of the series was really bad, but it nailed the last 3 episodes again. Echo. Marvel has not been on a hot streak for a while, and this one is no different to that. I watched The Brother's Son, Netflix show that I can recommend. The Color Purple, didn't really connect with it. Boys on the Boat, Boys on the Boat, George Clooney's film, not that great either. I watched the Percy Jackson series. I think that's pretty good adaptation for a new take for this. For a kid show, mainly, or young teens. I don't think it skews adults, but I guess that's what the novel series does as well. But it's pretty well done. The Aussie novel adaptation of Boy Swallows Universe. I don't know if you're familiar, Lachlan, because it's a novel that came out in 2018, so I assume you don't know about this one. I just know. It's not that great. It's basically just any Oscar bait movie, but that in a limited series. Adapted from a book. It's really not well done. I watched Scott Adkins, 2 Scott Adkins films, One Shot and One More Shot. We also discussed that in a review with Kevin, because he recommended me those films. But yeah, I don't have time to go into all of that. I still took a couple of minutes to just debrief you on what I watched, I guess. But you can follow Lachlan and myself on Letterboxd if you want to keep up to date with what we're watching, and then I guess check out the weekly recap of what I watched on my own channel. And hopefully I'll be starting to post more short reviews. I definitely want to do that again. Fingers crossed I actually get to it. There's just a lot going on, but hopefully I'll get around to that. But that's basically all that I've been watching, that Lachlan's been watching. So let's talk about Sofia Coppola's Priscilla.
Wife to the king, icon to the world, destined for more.
Oh,
how incredible.
Poetic.
Or, when teenage Priscilla Boyle meets Elvis Presley, the man who is already
meteoric rock and roll. Yeah,
Can we just? Nah, it's too much. It's too much.
Lachlan, how would you sum it up in your own words?
Someone thrilling crush, an ally in loneliness, a vulnerable best friend. What a fucking terrible.
I know.
That's just
you want to read the one from Letterboxd? The one from Letterboxd?
Heroic rock and roll superstar.
The unseen.
Let me read the one from Letterboxd.
Well, you can read it. It's really bad as well, though.
The unseen side of a great American myth in Elvis and Priscilla Presley's long courtship and turbulent marriage from a German army. It's terrible.
Yeah, they're both so bad, right?
Why can't someone write a good fucking
Yeah, and we can't be bothered to do it ourselves, okay? You're saying, why don't you just write a good intro for this? Like, I tell you no. This is IMDb's and Letterboxd's job.
I'll let fucking ChatGTP come up with a good one. Do you want to intro the rest of this movie?
Yes. While we're on standby for AI to take over reviewing movies for us, I'll hit you with the numbers. Yeah, the movie is 110 minutes long. On Letterboxd, it has currently a 3.6 rating. On IMDb, a 6.7, and on Metacritic, a 79. So it skews into the direction of being a critic's favorite more than an audience favorite. It was made with a budget of 20 million and has made 25.6 million at the box office. It is now available on VOD to buy and to rent, I guess, soon as well. I don't know if both of them are available. In comparison to maybe the more popular Elvis movie that came out last year, that almost, I guess, got Austin Butler the win, but Brendan Fraser won. He didn't win, but he got Oscar nominated for it. Elvis had a budget of $85 million and grossed $280 million, so definitely a bit more of a ROI, a return on investment for those who did do the investing. For this film here, that is A24 that produced the film with the acclaimed Sofia Coppola, who a lot of people know for her work, like Lost in Translation, The Virgin Suicides, and Marie Antoinette. But she's also been one of the first people to filmmakers to work with A24 with while it was still just a distribution company. I think they distributed The Bling Ring from 2013. So 10 years later, we get the story of Priscilla Presley. Lachlan, how's that log line looking?
Hang on, I've got to go to Bing Chat because ChatGTP only does from January 2022 and before.
I haven't used it in a while, so I wasn't sure if it uses the new data.
Oh my god, it won't stop.
Basically just copy paste the Wikipedia page.
It won't stop. It's just giving me. I asked for a short summary, and it gave me a text box this big. It's wild.
For the whole film?
Literally for the whole film, and it's giving me 4 answers, and it's only on. I asked for a log line, and it's giving me the one from. Which one did you get? The one where it talks about him being a melodic rock and roll star, becomes
IMDb.
entirely unexpected in private moments. They gave me that one.
I mean,
Bing chat, come up with your own.
It's just Googling, yeah.
It's actually Bing.
Huh? It's Binging?
It's Bing chat,
binging.
not Google.
It's Binging. To Bing or not to Bing? That is the gong.
That is the question. What are you up to?
Yeah, Priscilla, a movie about Priscilla Presley, depicting her life as she enters the star-filled stardom and gaze of Elvis Presley. Quickly becomes enamored with being gazed upon by a superstar like this, as you would as a 14, 15-year-old kid, time that they first met. And it basically tells the story of the years of their somewhat odd relationship into being married and ultimately divorced. That's the story of Priscilla, and I think it does that wonderfully well. We are going to do a spoiler review. If you want to hear our non-spoiler thoughts, we do have a separate video for that out that should already be out. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go watch that, go watch the movie, come back to this. But Lachlan, we are basically taking in the complete perspective of Priscilla. We don't really follow Elvis on his trips out. We don't see the affairs that he goes on, the concerts that he gives, and basically where all of that stardom comes from. We are just with him in his personal moments, and we are meant to fill in the blanks as much, or basically get the perspective of someone who doesn't really get a front seat to all of the stardom, but the back seat in the car. That analogy doesn't work. She's just with him when he's not on stage. That's what I'm trying to say. So what do you think about that storytelling device for I guess this, when we don't really get this sensationalized view of a pop star in a different kind of biopic, because it's still kind of a biopic on Priscilla Presley.
It's great. It's more down to earth. It makes them not this icon, which is what all of them have done so far. I said it earlier when we started the episode. Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, Elvis from Baz Luhrmann, and this upcoming Michael Jackson movie all put them at this next tier above where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And Priscilla herself in this film is never brought to that status. She's always at that lower status. And so's Elvis. Elvis isn't brought to that status. He's still down here with us. He's still a human being in this movie. And to me, that was the exciting part, that it wasn't a showy, poppy, glamorous, beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
It was flat. It was slow. It was not a rock star's life. And that's the best part. Yes, it's a story about Priscilla, but keep in mind that all of the stuff we know about Priscilla, it's Priscilla and Elvis, or Elvis and Priscilla, where this is just Priscilla and her story, and it does a really good job at trying to focus on her, but I do feel like at times it does kind of go, oh, here's Elvis Presley, and you kind of forget about her. But that might be on purpose.
Yeah, I feel like it very purposely puts her on like in the background, or you definitely know like her needs. They're pretty much spelled out to you. Really great performance by Kaylee Spaney. She won at the Venice premiere for Best Actress, and there's some other great performances in Origin, for example. The lead is incredible. Would have given it to her as well, but Kaylee Spaney, I think, nails that childlike innocence that gets like is close to this really encapsulating performance of Elvis Presley. Like you say, there's not a ton of the one point where I feel like Elvis takes over is when she's the first time or the second time she's invited over to the house in Germany, and he plays the piano. And there's something about him singing that I don't know how she did this, but she captured the perspective of Priscilla so well that you basically get drawn in yourself as an audience member, and it really helps to sell you on why you see the repercussions that this a relationship like this might take later on, and the toll it takes on her as a person. But you still like, ooh, I wouldn't want to give this up though. I still would want to hang out with Elvis Presley, being in her shoes.
Yeah.
And like I repeatedly thought I would not want to be in the position of the parents at the other end when Elvis is talking to you and, oh, I got the best intentions with your daughter. And it's like, yeah, man, okay, she's still like 16, 17 though, so fuck off. Like that's like my perspective that I take, like, fuck no. No matter how popular and famous and rich this guy is, I wouldn't want to like basically hand over my daughter into the arms of Elvis to basically be used as like, hey baby, it's either me or the career. When I ring, you got to pick up because you got to be for that for me. And she's not more than much more than that to him, but there's still love there in a weird, complicated way. And although I feel like there's certain moments in the story where it basically sidelines her in a way that does get repetitive, like the 15th time that she just kind of walks by and hears him on the phone talking. I think those are some of the weaker aspects when it starts to jump through time, but it does so effectively showcase her basically not getting all of him. And yeah, I think that's really well done.
She acts as his anchor to ground him.
Yeah.
That's how he sees her. And that's an interesting perspective and an interesting place to put your main protagonist as not the star of the show. And it's Elvis, right? He is the star of the show. He is the man. He's the king, right?
The king, yeah.
And Priscilla, even though this story revolves around her, she never seems to be the one leading. She always seems to be the one that he comes back to be there. And I think she eventually figures out her place, and it's an interesting spot to put your protagonist, as I said, as almost not the protagonist. And that's, I guess, a side of the story that people know, but they kind of want to forget about when it comes to their relationship, of how young she started and their relationship as a whole, right? People kind of turn to blind. People go, oh, it's a different age. And it's like, yeah, well,
10 years
still,
apart.
What, 15, 16?
Yeah. And he was 10 years older than her when they met. Funnily enough, between the actors, I think Jacob Elordi is just 1 year older than Katie Spaney, which, by the way, comes really through when, I think at the start when she's 15, I don't know if she 100% looks that young. She plays it super well. But then the transition in like the last 20, 15-ish minutes, when the makeup comes on, the hair comes down from going up, I feel like we skip a lot of time, right? But the time jump doesn't come in a way where like, oh, okay, they put old people makeup on her. She just looks like an actual woman that's not putting on a show for a man that has dressed her. And it does that transition so effectively, like what it actually, like what he did to her, to basically, and it left me flabbergasted. I was like, holy shit, why is this not more in talks of awards consideration for, especially for the makeup? It's incredible. But I also even landed more on Kaylee Spaney as Priscilla. I think she does such an incredible job. There's a lot of moments where he said like Elvis comes through more, and you maybe feel like it's more of his story as well, in parts. But she just basically is silently disagreeing to a lot because she's never really in control. And I love how Sofia Coppola is not really guiding you by the hand of what you should make of it. I think there's like a quote about it where she basically wanted to be respectful to this relationship and to everyone involved, even though the kid that they have, she threatened to speak out about the film because basically she thought that the movie made her dad seem like an evil guy. She unfortunately passed in January of 2023, before the film actually came out. But I think it actually does it in a quite respectful way, and it doesn't really condemn him as this like bad guy, but actually like really shows him as a person who's struggling with the fame and is just kind of You can see the outside influences that make him spiral, that make him worse. Not that he's like a good guy with the best intentions. He's very good, and there's nothing to critique here. But it feels nuanced. It feels like there's actually not just a constructed character for screen, but there's like some actual things that we get to see unfold in front of us. And I love that when I see that in a movie. And I think, she did that super well.
Agreed. She, incredible performance, subtle, easy. And the same goes for, and this is obviously Kaylee Spaney, the performance as Priscilla is subtle.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Jacob Elordi's Elvis, personally, I like it more than Austin Butler's.
Same.
So
yeah,
Austin Butler wasted 10 years of his life preparing for the role, and Jacob Elordi probably got signed 2 weeks before the movie was meant to start because Andrew Garfield probably rusted on for it, and then he got the job, and he did a pretty good job.
He was practicing. They were shooting Saltburn right before he shot Priscilla. So in between, he kept practicing for Elvis when they were shooting Saltburn. And I like it. He
is that a fact?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. In an interview. Cool. Yeah. He's just been a really interesting person to follow. Tall guy. Got the movie star energy. And I think he's perfect for this figurative Elvis role here, where we like a representative role where he is also, he's a half a foot taller than actual Elvis. Elvis was 6 foot,
literally,
and Elordi is 6'5". So there's differences here. Then Spaney is also, I don't know how tall Priscilla is, but she's like, he just towers over Katie Spaney. And it's nice. It's not, there's nice allegories in here that you can maybe accentuate a bit in movie form to bring a point across, but she doesn't fall into the typical traps for this type of story. I think that's why, like, she's such an intelligent filmmaker that you can really feel that. And I also like the look and the cinematography of the film quite a bit. I like the use of the music as well. The way that they used montage to cut between moments.
The soundtrack is great.
The soundtrack
I've been
is great.
listening to the soundtrack, eh?
Yeah, I've been listening to it a bit. I think the Crimson and Clover when they first kiss is great. There's a couple of great tracks on it. They obviously didn't get the okay from the Elvis estate to use any of the music, and this movie also had quite a few budget cuts. I think she had to cut like 6 or 7 pages of her script just because when they started filming, the money wasn't there. So it still cost 20 million to make, and it hasn't really made that money back. But yeah, it's a bit underwhelming. I'm a bit disappointed that it didn't do better at the box office, because I think it's a really intelligently, smartly, well-made film. Yeah, I love the use of color in it as well. The film look, and then I think it's like one of the first films, because for budgetary reasons it wasn't shot on film, but also saw on IMDb that it was listed that it shot it on 16mm, but apparently it isn't. I don't know, I couldn't figure out which one's which. It looks like it's shot on color on film, but it also could be like digitally made to look like that. But I like the costume design as well. Yeah, all of it just really comes together.
But that's a Coppola movie.
That is a Coppola. I mean,
it's a family of incredible directors.
Yeah, and actors. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage, I think, was the ex-father-in-law. There's some connection to the Presleys as well through Priscilla, through Nicolas Cage. I can't remember how exactly, but these Hollywood elite stages come together and
Who's your daddy?
He does say. He does say be a good girl quite a bit. And he also says baby a lot, which on my second viewing that wasn't as apparent, but first time, oh my god, the way how often he says baby is a bit distracting.
Baby girl.
Baby girl.
Baby girl. Baby girl. Wait, were you saying this wasn't shot on film or this was shot on film?
I said both.
Okay.
I saw in an
because
interviews that
one of the
cameras,
the Arri Alexa, which is
digital,
a digital camera.
Yeah.
So must have been shot digitally and then made it look like it's
I don't know. On IMDb, it also says it's on 16 and 8 millimeter, but I don't know if they just like copy paste that for all of the movies, and it's not actually true. I couldn't figure it out.
Huh.
But it's just got a nice look to itself.
Yeah, it says it was shot digitally, but yeah.
It's got some nice colors, like I said. I think they really pop. Like that first part in Germany is really muted. You could see the browns, the brownish color palette that she likes on her clothes, and then basically just accentuating her as like a prop for him. Like the blue brings out your eyes, make your more eye makeup, taller hair, all of that. And in stark contrast to when it comes down. And basically, I also really appreciate that this movie doesn't overextend itself to basically capture her entire life, but it's basically as soon as Elvis enters her life and as soon as he exits her life, with the divorce, obviously it's not like it ends with his death, but as soon as that period is done, the love story is done, the movie's also done. And I think that's also like really effective storytelling. Anything else that you wanted to bring up for Priscilla? No, that's it. All right, let's head on over to the the rating stage. What would you give Priscilla?
Giving Priscilla a clean 4 out of 5 stars.
I can't you mentioned clean, and first viewing gave it a 4 out of 5. Second viewing, just last night gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I can't decide. I think I'm somewhere in between, so I'm giving a 4.25 out of 5, and I can just do that.
Cool.
I can do that. Yeah, don't question me. Anyways, double feature time. What do you pair up with Priscilla?
So much like how Elvis comes home and goes, "I want to play with you," and then he leaves and he goes, "I don't want to play with you anymore." Why don't you double feature this with Toy Story? Because I don't want to play with you anymore.
Okay. That's...
Thank you.
Play with you anymore. Yeah.
That's all I've got.
We did really...
For 2 weeks, you've been waiting for that segue into that double feature, and that's what I came up with.
Well,
Thank you.
I got a more serious one. I am very serious. You know, they end their marriage, and I just continued their marriage to be ended. Again, in a different film by Noah Baumbach, starring Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story. So basically the unfolding of a popular couple with like a actress and a screenwriter or director or whatever Adam Driver's profession was in that movie, with like superstar and his wife. And hey, there's a connection there. So yeah, that's my double feature pick. I forgot to put down the new releases of the week. Not gonna lie. But Fallen Leaves has just come out on VOD, and it might be the film we talk about next week. A cat has appeared. Let's see if she has anything to say to that. Thank you, brilliant. Anyway, she loves Fallen Leaves and the dog in Fallen Leaves, so we might be talking about that. Out in wide release. I don't know if it's out for you in Australia, but at least in the States they are getting ISS. A movie where they're in the International Space Station and war breaks out on Earth below, and there's Russians between the world and Russia or whatever. I don't know, bombs go off. And alliances, do they translate into the International Space Station as well, where there's Americans and there's also Russians? And that's the movie. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I'll see this one. We won't be talking about that in spoiler fashion next week, but I think that's pretty much the big films out in limited release. Is The Breaking Ice as well. Can recommend that film. Really well done. That's pretty much it. I guess go see Godzilla -1 in black and white if it's playing for you. Apparently, Across the Spider-Verse is back on IMAX screens in the States. Yeah, some stuff to watch. A lot of the awards films now that the Oscar nominations are happening. Basically, when this episode comes out, a couple hours later, the Oscar nominations will be announced, so we'll talk about that next week as well, I guess, briefly. You'll see a lot of these films that are nominated come out on VOD, because that's a free publicity, or not free publicity, because a lot of them actually pay to get those shortlists and nominations. But you'll see more of these films pop up on streaming, so everyone can catch up on them, and we might give some of them a spoiler review on the show, like Fallen Leaves, or maybe we'll talk about The Iron Claw next week. We'll have to come back and check out episode 170. Wow. Of the Quiet Answer podcast. Man, we've done a lot of these. Anyways, that's the end.
A lot of these.
Of 169 though. So I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I keep looking this way. Bye.
Bye. We're waving at each other and it's never going to end.